Hi everyone, I am Tara, aka Spirit Mother, and I'd like to welcome you all back to my channel on YouTube, Spirit Teachings of Going Within Self, on TikTok, 1974 Enlightened Soul, and I'm also live on my Facebook. If you're new to my channel, I always recommend, suggest, and I really encourage people to read the description on my YouTube channel, Spirit to Spirit Teachings of Going Within Self, to get a better understanding of what it is that I bring forward on my channel. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I command and I talk, and I talk about a lot of my own experiences because this is like my journal. And today I'm talking to address an elephant in the room, right? Because it's actually been bothering me for quite some time. And it's been hitting me really hard in the heart. Now, this is going to piss off a few people, and that's just fine because I really don't care anymore because you don't seem to care about how I feel, but you want to use me as a convenience when there's no one else around. Now, this is going to be hard because this is about my son, my youngest son. And I've sat with him a number of times and talked with him, and I can even feel him crying inside. And I tell him, like, it's okay to cry, and he just keeps trying to hold it in. See, I just got done messaging with him because back in June, they had a baby, my son and his girlfriend, and I was in the delivery room. A few weeks prior to that, my son called me and asked if I could go and stay with his girlfriend because the doctor put her on bed rest. So this has been irritating me for a while. This is the elephant. And I'm not the only one that felt the same way because the doctor voiced it because I was sitting right there when he voiced it. And I was informed that other people had voiced it too. His girlfriend has 3 other children, and I love them as if they were my own grandchildren. Whenever I go around, it's nanny, nanny. They've come here, and then they've asked other times, when are we going to your place, nanny? Because when they come here, they play with my crystals, they play on the chalkboard, they play with my musical instruments that I have, and they spend a lot of time outside, and we spend time together. And see, the thing is, sometimes people will talk about how other people are because I know that, it's been voiced to me about, like, I said, I don't care if people like me or not, or if you have nothing to do with me again. But my son told me that his father doesn't go visit his family. They're to come to him. But he go visits his wife's family, they don't have to come to them. Now, see, the thing is, to my son, you really have no room to talk because you're the exact same way. I love you, and I love my grandson, and I love her children as my grandchildren. But you do the same thing. You go to her parents' place, but you don't come to me. Now, another thing, and he said he's voiced it with this person, that the guy's girlfriend has him under thumb. The way she is with him. And he says about when he stays. Well, my son dated this girl years ago, and they're cousins. My son and this guy's cousins. And my son would say about him and the way the relationship was. To my son, your relationship is no different. It's not to cause problems. It's to say, hey, I got the messages from her because I had a conversation with her. And then that night she kicked you out of the house 2 weeks before your baby was born. But they say it was her hormones. She did it 2 or 3 times before the baby was born. And I have the messages, and the next day, when I got that message in the morning, I went to their place because I have to call before I go, and I never get an answer when I want to go see my grandson. I'm going to be honest, I think she already knows that I'm not real fond of her because I know my son knows. I keep the peace for my son and for those children and my grandson. And like I said, this is going to stir up a lot of shit. But that's fine. Because when I told him, I was excited. I was in the delivery room and I was excited to be a grandmother. And I had no problem going to their place to visit my grandson. But what did my son do? He brought up and he said, as I said, I only got to see him 6 times since he was born in June. And he sees, they go to her family, but I was told that's because, shit. Perfect for family celebration. That's because her parents are buying her a home. See, she says that she bought her home. I'm not jealous because I found out that, I have nothing to offer. I don't have a house on a lake. I don't have a cottage on a lake. And I feel like I'm a convenience because the only time I would get called to come there was to look after her children, which I didn't mind being around the children. But it was always that I was a convenience when her family wasn't available. See, I really don't care if she likes me or if my son is really fond of me right now. Because I'm not real fond of either one of them right now. Because my son knew that I was excited. And when I said that I only got to see him 6 times, he said I was being immature. And he said about that, well, my dad's only seen him twice. Well, I'm not your dad. And I've never heard of any other grandparent having to ask if they could go visit their son and their grandson. I've never heard of that. See, I believe it was 2 or 3 months before she got pregnant, she broke off with my son. And how do I know this? Because I got a call from him, frantic. I was driving up the road, and me and a friend of mine at the time were going somewhere. He called me crying, wanting to borrow my car because she had broken off with him. And he said it was because he didn't have a car and she was coming in to get him every weekend and take him home, and she'd have to load the kids. Okay. So she broke off with him 2 or 3 months before she got pregnant. And I talked to my son. And I don't know how many times I've talked to my son. And my son has not only talked to me, but he's actually talked with his father too. And I believe in a lot of ways with regards to that, his father and I are on the same page, which is probably really odd because we were never on the same page. See, I know the law and I know what my rights are. And I know when something's not right. And I just got a message. Don't know who it's from. But see, the thing is, this wouldn't be the first time that I got treated like a piece of shit because just last year I went to the ball field. It was my oldest sister who told me that my son was playing ball. So I went, and when I showed up, I was expected to look after her youngest daughter while they played ball. But my question is, like, who was looking after her before I got there? Because when I got there, he said this, and I told him I didn't come here to babysit. So I was watching the ball game, and I wasn't paying attention, and she went out in the little one went out in the field. And then at the end of the ball game, my youngest son said, "You're not much of a babysitter." And when said I didn't come here to babysit, we got into a little tiff, and he called me a fucking idiot. You're very disrespectful, boy. Maybe you're hanging around with the wrong people. He must be watching. So when I was like, it really Like, I'm tired of being called a fucking idiot. My youngest son calls me a fucking idiot. My oldest son called me a fucking idiot. My ex-husband called me a fucking idiot. My sisters called me a cunt. Well, I have to say, maybe you're the assholes. So when I was leaving, I got frustrated and just right out loud in front of everyone, I was just like, "Tienes que dar tu purita criada!" And then heads turned, and then next thing I know, her two youngest boys come running towards me saying, "Nanny, Nanny, Nanny." So I went and I calmed right down and I hugged them and I was trying to hold back the tears and I said, "Hi, you guys." I said, "Nanny loves you." I said, "But Nanny's gonna go right now." Two people were calling me, but I wasn't answering. And then for months, like, I didn't talk to my son. There's a habit of that in the family. You know, you speak up, and then nobody wants to talk to you because they only hear one side of the story. So I was messaging him, and the messages that I was getting was I was being immature, and you believe that. Wine. It's not what I believe, it's what I know, it's what you told me. And it's what she wrote to me. And he told me what happened because I went there. I showed up after she messaged me 3 weeks before she had the baby, or sorry, 2 weeks before she had the baby. I went there because I told her, like, I'm going to come and talk to both of you to find out what's going on. But that night, she took off to her parents' place. And they all said it's the hormones. No, she was doing that before she even was pregnant. And how do I know this? Because my son was talking to me. My son was sending me pictures of my grandson, and then they stopped. So now, when that song comes on, Justin Bieber, "Mama don't like you, she likes everyone." I, I'm being honest. I'm not real fond of my youngest son's girlfriend, the mother of his son, because I've seen the pain that my son has been going through, and it's exactly the same thing that he was going through when he was with the first girlfriend when we lived in the city next to each other. I sat there one day while she was pregnant because my son went off work early. He went on maternity leave early so that he could be with her because she was put on bed rest. I mean, she wasn't allowed to really move anywhere. But she was digging up plants. She was riding a tractor lawnmower. She wouldn't sit. And I was there one day, and actually, it was the day that he left. It was the day 2 weeks before. I was sitting there, and he went and he was cooking supper, and he went and he got the the couple things of macaroni out, and he asked her, which one do you want? And she said which one she wanted. And she said, I hope you cook it right. And I just looked at her and was like, what? Well, I like good food. And then she told me that he's been on his own for so long, he should know how to cook. So I told her, like, hey, he lived alone. He had no one to cook for. So he was buying food out. So I don't care if she likes me. I don't care if my son is pissed off at me. And I don't care if you try to keep my grandson from me. I know my rights. I know what his relationship what it has been like. Her first pregnancy, she told people that she was pregnant before and that she got electrocuted. But what she didn't tell them is that it was with my youngest son's first baby. And at that time, she was put on bed rest too. And I went because my son called me at that time in her first pregnancy with his to go be there. So I went there because he didn't want her doing anything. The doctor didn't want her doing anything. But she was tearing her trailer apart. So I took over and I tore out me and her mother tore out a wall. And there was electrical wire hanging down. And she didn't turn the power off to the house. And she got electrocuted. Electrocuted the baby. But before that, she had told me that she didn't want any more kids. And I know that she told people that a different pregnancy was, but it was with my son's first baby. And I know because I even went to the hospital with her after that. So this is the elephant in the room. And see, she had the baby 9 days early because she wanted to be induced. She wanted to be induced before that because originally she wanted to be induced so that she could get out of the hospital and go camping. I was right there. And when we were in the delivery room, because she got the doctor to induce her 9 days early. And when we were in the delivery room, when the doctor was inducing her, the doctor told her that the baby, because he did the examination, and he said the baby could have went another week and a half to 2 weeks. And I know my son is watching because I keep getting a bunch of messages right now from him. And you can be mad at me all you want. You can keep me from my grandson all you want. It wouldn't be the first time that people have cut me from people that I cared about. It just goes to show your integrity and your character. And to my son, you can meet me somewhere and I'll give you your house key back. See, he told me that the reason why her family gets to see the baby so much is because they're going there because her family's helping her. They do her hair and they're buying her a house. I understand she's got 4 children now, and she does live in a dive trailer. But there's a difference of saying that you bought the house and actually telling the truth that it's your parents who bought it for you. And it's not jealousy, because even if I wouldn't expect my parents to buy me a house. But I did say that, when I get shit sorted out and the invention, spirit's invention going, and I have the means, I will be buying my son a house for him and his son. And I will be making sure that nobody can get their hands on it. But see, that was the thing when I back last January, not January just passed, but 2024, I told my son that I had an invention. There wasn't going to be any pregnancy. I don't regret my grandson, but I will be honest. I'm not. I didn't want him to have a baby. So I don't care if this destroys my relationship with my son, because, for the past year, 2 years since we got with her, there hasn't been much of a relationship, because when I lived in the city, we were talking with each other every day because we were neighbors and he was always coming over. And now he hardly has anything to do with me. So this is the elephant in the room, and like I said, some people are going to get pissed off at me because only family members told her, you should wait when it came to inducing the baby. When he came out, he was blue. The umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck. So I know why her mother was crying. And it was like being the one to cut the umbilical cord, not cord when he came out, but after they clamped it. That was a special moment. That to me was a bonding moment. He's not my son, but he is my grandson, so he's still a part of me. It seems like every time the kids get taken from me, away from me, because that's the quickest way to hurt me. So that's an asshole move. I've watched his relationship with her, and no, it wasn't the hormone. That was just an excuse. And I feel that screaming because I did. I told my son, I'm only a convenience, and I have nothing. She has no use for me because I have nothing to offer her. Because, you know, the first time I went there to see my grandson, I was greeted at the door. What are you doing? You didn't call. I tried calling, and then he told me it was like he was like that because they were going out. No, they weren't going out. He was going out because she said she was staying home. He was going to do something. And I was sitting there and I was holding him and I said about him moving like he said about my car. And he said about like my car. And she told him to take my car down, like he told him to take my car down the laundry for the laundromat. And then come back. And then all of a sudden she was going too, but I wasn't supposed to go there because she didn't want any visitors for a few days. But she took the baby to a ball field and sat in a vehicle, and her friends seen him. That's why I showed up. And I was sitting there, and then he said about because she said about him going and getting something the second time, and he said I can't because mom's car's there. And I said, well, just move it up into the back part where she would park her vehicle. And he looks at me and says, or you could just go. Don't didn't mind calling me when I was a convenience. There was nobody else to look after the other kids before the baby was born. So you two are hypocrites because you talk about everybody else, but you're not fucking them. Most people don't have parents who can buy them a house. I addressed an elephant in the room, and what I'm saying on here is nothing that I didn't say to my son. It's that part of, I'm your loss, you're not mine. I'm not your convenience, but you like to seem to think I am. See, I know things that would transpire in that home, and I know that the little fellow would talk to me about certain things, but then it would be like, oh, well, he's like that. No, he's not. Maybe he is like that, but there's a reason why he's like that. I always thought that play therapy was one on one with a child, and the parent wasn't supposed to be there because, if there's something going on within the family structure, whether it's on the mother's side or the father's side, they weren't supposed to be there because it could intimidate the children from talking about how they how they were feeling or certain things that they were trying to express but felt unheard. Because I was there one day when the young fellow's great grandmother passed, and he was hugging me and he was crying about it. And his mother says to him, "Well, I don't know why you're crying. I know what I knew better than you." It's like he's a fucking child. It's a part of, we do things for our children, yes, but are we doing it for show? Are you doing it to, like, just keep the kids quiet? There's certain things that, I've been observing. There's been change. And yes, they do deserve, the children do deserve a new house. Because I've seen the shape of what their house is like. The front is coming down, so I do know. And it's good that she's looking for a new house. But don't say you bought it because you didn't. And then she said about that, like, because my son can't get credit to buy a house. Well, I'm here to tell you, I told him, don't give up your apartment. See, it makes me question, like, I question my ex husband's first relationship. So, in ways, I question her first relationship as I question my son's first relationship because I see a pattern. Because he would come over to me when we were living side by side and tell me about what was going on over there, and she would come and I would talk to him, but like to talk, it's a lot like my ex-husband. It's the victim mentality. Oh, woe is me, I got 4 kids. Oh, woe is me, I understand that. But see, the thing is, when I start questioning things, I look back in time with these people, you know, because I was questioning because I want to know the truth because I know what my son, I know what I'm observing with my son. But he told me one of the biggest reasons why he went back to her was for the children and their life. So she plays favorites. She does. And I know that she's been through things in her life. But it's no excuse to treat other people poorly. And I know it's that part of, if you don't give her what she wants, she'll have a fit because I had a mother. See, certain people don't like people don't stand up and say something and address something when they actually should be, because that's how people get like that. Because you cater to them, you give them what they want because they might have a fit. Sometimes people give others what they want because maybe they have something to that something to expose, a secret of some sort. So it's that part. But when you do that, all you're doing is enabling the person. You're enabling the behavior. Because I'll tell you right now, from what I observed with my son, in both his relationships, long-term relationships, they both behave the same. Maybe that's why sometimes I almost when I'm referring to his girlfriend, sometimes his previous girlfriend's name will start to come out of my mouth. And it's not because my son says it, it's because what I see and what I experience. That's why people don't like me, is because I will stand up and I will address the elephant in the room. I will express my feelings. Somebody said maybe too much. Seriously? Maybe you just can't handle the truth. You don't know how much I cried after she lost the first baby. And I was angry. And I've been angry about it. I was excited the first time, but the second time it was more of a no. But I know that things meant to be. Sometimes I'll be honest, sometimes I even question if the baby was my son's, because I didn't feel any attachment to it. But whether I still had those suspicions or not, he's innocent in all this. And when I held him, energy that was shared was just like, and when my son told me where you could just go, I just shut down. I looked at her and said, where do I put the baby? She said, just over there. So I laid him in the bassinet, and usually I hug my son and tell him I love him. I didn't even get my card. I just walked out the door and left, and I was numb. couldn't believe how I was treated, whether they were going anywhere or not. He told me he didn't want visitors. You guys really need to do some inner work. My dad, that day that happened, it was my dad who told me to go because I wasn't going to go. And I was sitting right in front of my dad when I tried calling my son. So I decided, he's not answering the phone. So I decided, I'm going to go up and see. And I went up and we were home. And he said, you didn't call? Yeah, I did call. I actually called a few times that day. And the day before that, I had even asked if I could come out and visit the baby. I kept all the text messages, including the ones from his girlfriend. And people say, oh, she's on antidepressants. Well, so I've been too. I fucking died, but I didn't become like that. I was never like that. I would never have done that to my mother or the father's mother. I would encourage the grandparents to be around as much as possible. But like I said, I'm not good enough. I'm no use because I don't have a cabin on a beach, a cottage on a beach, or on a lake, and I don't have a house on the lake, and I don't have sea-doos and boats and stuff like that. But I have integrity. I have abundance. Maybe it's not materialistic or monetary, but I have what's important. And I have a lot to offer my grandson too. And I have to ask, why are you trying so hard to keep me from my grandson? And don't say it's because of the way I am. To my son, you ought to feel foolish. And you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And shame is the lowest vibration that a person can ever get. I did nothing to you or her. I done everything that I could, but I refuse to give the little girl what she wants. Her family can be mad at me too. I really don't care. You never liked me anyway, so hey, I knew that the day of the baby shower. Talked to everybody else in my family but me. And I know that I'm not the only one who goes through stuff like this. So this part of, oh, well, her family gets to see him that much because they're helping her buy a home or a house or they're doing her hair. And what was the other thing? And their camps are next to each other. And yeah, there's like 5 messages there from my son, and they're longer messages. But sometimes I wonder if he's the one writing the messages. Because my son, my youngest son, never ever used to talk to me like that. Now he's being disrespectful. So yeah, I'm addressing an elephant in the room, and like I said, it's not something that I haven't addressed with him because the day that the baby and her got transferred to another hospital, my son and I stood in the parking lot for almost an hour. They would get irritated with me because I was concerned about his jaundice because I read that jaundice is like 2 weeks. So I was concerned about his jaundice. The thing is, children are not your crops. They're not there to get you attention. So do I really care what they think of me? Fuck no. It wouldn't be the first time that my son would talk to me because he rarely ever does. And anytime I call, he never answers. And like I said, with regards to the texting, I question whether it's really. See, is it the children that had the insecurities, or is it the mother that had the insecurities and created insecurities within the children? I'm just, I'm asking because it's how I see it. And like I said, I may even lose friends on Facebook. I may even lose my son, but hey, but I do know that I had a good and healthy relationship with my son before he met her. And, years ago, he had dated her sister briefly, and I had voiced some concerns with like the difference of age, but they were making it clear that nothing was going on. And with that one, no offense to her, because she's a person. I don't know her completely, but I know that when they broke up, he went and he bought her a ring because he was going to give her a ring. This is the baby mother's sister, the aunt. He bought a ring and borrowed my car to take it to her because she had broken up with him and he wanted. And then I got a phone call. He put my car off the road. So I called my brother-in-law to take me to go get him. And I cried because when he left, I knew something bad was going to happen. I knew something bad was happening. And I could feel it. And I kept calling my sister, like, something's wrong. And then I got the call from him saying he put the car off the road. So we had to go tow him out. And then on the way home, I just happened to look over and I seen his wrists. And both his wrists from here to here were slashed. I kept wondering, like, why my tub kept getting this yellow ring around it. So I was going around and I was asking like about it. And I was trying what I was talking about. I was trying to figure out what the fuck am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? My son is doing this. What am I gonna do? So I kept driving in circles and then all of this and then I went to the hospital. And I called the hospital and they were sitting in the parking lot. See, they couldn't do anything because he wouldn't go in. So I finally got him to go in and have them looked at so they weren't infected. And then after that, he started getting violent. He would blame it on me because, I'd be telling him, like, I don't want you, like, doing this. Like, I'm scared of you. And one time he picked me up and he just body slammed me on the bed. That was the time that I had called the police. And there was a peace bond on him. And then I moved to town and I got him out of that house because I broke the peace bond. Because I didn't want to keep my son at a distance. So we moved to town, and then this other girl, this other one that he had the long-term relationship. It was like we moved into the apartment next to each other. I moved there first, and then I got in the apartment next to me. And this one night, it was storming out, and the same thing was kind of happening. It was a breakup, and he was going like in the night and driving 2.5 hours away in a storm. So I was concerned, and he was upset. So I was trying to pull him back in, and I was like going like this, trying to get a hold of him. And that's when he grabbed me and he hauled me back and then threw me, and I went up against the door frame and it hit in the center. I forgave him for that because I didn't understand what he was going through. And I went unconscious and had called the ambulance. They took me, and the doctors asked me what happened, and I was telling them like your routine thing that people who have been assaulted will say, especially when it comes from a loved one, and went home and he went to her and she told him because of what he did, good, she deserved it. Not this one that he's with now, but the one prior, the long-term relationship prior to her. And I did everything I could for that woman. I'm going to be honest, I was glad when she moved out because my son started getting his life together after. You know, people think that I don't care because I come on here and you think because of, oh, and what you say about your family. Sometimes this is the only way that I can get them to hear. So, hey, to all you grandparents, be lucky you get to see your grandchildren and that you don't have to ask if you can go visit. My son told me that one day her youngest son was walking by his little sister and he slapped her across the head. My son asked him, like, what did you do that for? He said because he wanted to hurt her. And her oldest son, I watch him. And when he looks at people like his mom, he wants to hurt, wants to hurt them. Because he even told me he did. Because I asked him, but when he looks at people like that, because he will talk to me. He said he wants to hurt them, and you can tell he wants to hurt his mother. And is it because he doesn't get his own way? There's a lot of pain in that boy's eyes. There's a lot of anger, and he's going to hurt someone. I'm serious. He's going to hurt someone, and it's probably going to, and it will end up being one of his siblings because he didn't want any other children. He wanted to be the only child. He's got a lot of pain. He's got a lot of anger and frustration. There's something going on there that's being pushed aside by saying that, hey, he just wants his own way. No, children don't act out like that just because they want their own way. They're acting out like that because there's something fucking going on. So yeah, I am saying something. I've held my tongue for a long fucking time with regards to this. So to my grandchildren, whether you're my step-grandchildren or you're my grandson, biological grandson, you're very smart children, and you have a lot to offer the world. Nanny just wants you to be okay. I want you to heal and help you heal your mommy too, because you all got a deep seat. I wanted my son to have a relationship where it was affection, where it was intimacy, not like what my marriage was like. It was built on a convenience. And I had, like I said, I sat and I wondered, and I even expressed it to my son because I even asked him what type of child was. But I was told that they don't tell you that. I always felt that to be strange because they told my niece, and her children were her last child was just born 2 years ago. So I find that strange. Here's Billie Jean. It is not my son. She even told him when he went off work early and didn't get paid. He went off work without pay because he couldn't get unemployment yet. I sent him $200 because at the same time he had his cousin living with him, and he took $200 off his rent because his cousin's saving money to go somewhere. So I sent him $200, and he told me, he asked me why, and I said because you need it right now. You have no money, and you have a baby coming. Well, I'll get it back to you when I get money. And I told him, I don't want it back. I didn't give it to you because I wanted it back. I gave it to you to help you out with your baby, my grandson. So no to my son, and I'm not going for. And that day that I seen her talk to you like that, and then she kicked you out, she told you to be out when she got home, and I showed up there and she come there. And then you told me a week after that she kicked you out again because you didn't go the other time. This was say it was hormones. No, it wasn't hormones. And she better stop playing fucking games with your head too. And people better stop defending and enabling her. because you're not doing her any favors. That's what they did with my ex-husband. Don't stand up to them. They might have a temper tantrum, or they might run away and take the kids with them because, I was told that she did that before. And that's why they don't say anything to her now because they're afraid she'll take off the kids. Try. Try taking off with my grandson. Tonight was the last. I get off. I'm texting with my son. I was texting some with my son. Like reading the messages to my dad. And my dad told me, well, yeah, that's the right thing to do. Because that's what you're doing. I'm only inconvenienced when no one else is around. And you have no use for me because I don't have a cottage and I don't have clothes. And I don't have a house on the lake. I don't even have my own house. I'm living in an apartment downstairs from my ex-husband because I felt I had to help someone. So for people that look at me like I'm a piece of shit for coming on here and addressing the elephants in the room, well, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm far from a piece of shit. You look in the mirror and like see. And if you don't, if you think that I don't know that you tell people that you know who we are, they don't know what happens. Find some integrity and grow civils. Because if you don't want this to be happening, then why are you allowing me? Because you knew that I was excited. And you'd even say, like, Mom will be around a lot, but Mom's not allowed around hardly ever. And I'm told that I got to call because if I don't call, because I showed up another time and it was just like the same thing. I get called because I'm told, well, my son will call me and say, well, we're going to the ball field because the oldest son plays ball. And that's my visitation. The first time I sat in the car because it was too with him because it was too cold outside. But that's my visitation. What are you doing? Trying to give me supervised access? Because in all honesty, maybe I didn't be unsupervised. And like I said, I don't care if you cut me off. I know my legal rights. But you're just, just call on mommy and daddy instead of doing it right now. But like I said, try taking off with my grandson. I went through years of fighting for my son. And for years fighting for my oldest one too. I want to see the best for my kids. My son got a game. Well, it's not a game, it's actually a graphic designing thing, which he got in order to add it so that he could do some designs and print them off on his printer. And he said her oldest son was good at it. He liked it. It was something that he would be interested in. But she said no, she doesn't want him on it because it's an electronic. It's not an electronic. It's something he's creating himself. He's not sitting there playing a fucking game that messes with his mind. He's actually creating something that he can see a finished product with because my son will print it out. My son loves those children like they're his own. And if you try playing on his heartstrings for that, Kisito por aí. But like I said, I'm not even sure that it's my son that's texting me. Because my son said he was at a ball game and he said that she was home with the baby, which I'm not sure about that because she usually goes to the ball. She would go to ball games. But if it is my son, like I said, you should be ashamed of yourself. See, I brought his cat to my house. He asked me if I could take his cat. He brought him here and he was crying because he said he felt like he was abandoning him because he had some medical conditions and she didn't want him. She wants to move there, but he's expected to get rid of his cats and get rid of all this stuff because it's just cluttered with it. She wanted him to get rid of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. He bought $1,000 game, which he had paid for before she was pregnant. He had ordered it and it just arrived. And she was pissed off at him for that. Lady, it wasn't your fucking money. And I know people could say that about me with my ex husband, but there's a difference. So, hey, like I said, doesn't matter to me if you don't like me. And if you cut me off, you know, my grandson will know the truth from me. Because I never ran away from any of my children. And I'm not running away from my grandson. I'm being pushed and kept away. And my question is why? So hey, like me, love me, hate me, loathe me, I don't. And I'm going to leave it there. And I won't stop addressing the elephant in the room. So I guess, you know, if you don't want to be talked about on here because of what you did to me, then I guess maybe you should stop doing it. Or, you know, you'll just stay away because it's easier to just be like that than it is to actually work on yourself with regards to it. If you don't like me, the only reason why you don't like me is because I speak truth. With that being said, it's all absolute light and every blessings, most importantly, very good health to you and everyone watching the YouTube video. All very, very, most importantly, be yourself, be your authentic self, truly find yourself, be truly find others, and know that you have strength and confidence. Don't sit back and let shit just come at you because you're taking advantage of it. Speak up about the elephant in the room because somebody has to. And if it means that you lose people, at least you spoke up about it. More than that, those people that would shut you down has ever been. Because those are the ones that will tell you what to say. But hey, by not saying anything, that's where you get slow behavior. I love you all, and I hope you all have a